Thank you. Thank you, Barry White. Good morning, everybody. Ben and Woods, 97.3, The Fan. Welcome to the seventh ring of hell that is the San Diego Padres season. I don't know how many rings of hell there are. I always just say the seventh ring. I don't know how many there are.
I think that's the
final one.
Is that the final one? Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure I'll know at some point. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reinold to my right. Executive producer. Good morning, Paulie.
Good morning.
What's wrong with my camera here? For the love of God. All right. I think it's fixed it.
You think when you finally pass away, is there an orientation first? Well,
for me, no.
Here's the first ring, and then over here is the second ring.
No, it's going to be
you'll be starting here in the sixth ring.
Yeah, it's going to be purgatory. Just watching the San Diego Padres play one long inning, just booting the ball and just melting down.
So we're already there.
We're there pretty much. This is what it's like. To my left, my friend, my co-host, Benjamin R. Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor. How are you, bud?
I'm good. Good morning. Yeah. We got a lot to get to and not that much time to get to it, as it were, today.
So this is what it's like, huh? This is nice. 2.5 hour show. Sammy Levitt's coming in. I have heard from a friend last night that the callers on Sammy's postgame show are like somebody let
foaming
them
at the mouth.
They're foaming at the mouth. I haven't heard any yet. Might be a fun exercise at some point to pull some of those and I don't know, make fun of them. I don't know. But I heard that they're horrific. Like horrific. And if you listen to this radio station throughout the day, you'll hear some doozies. We've had a couple doozies on our show. Coach gets some doozies too. Coach is so nice to them when they call. That's one thing I'm lacking. If somebody gets on and, just starts prattling on about nothing and, we need to do this. And I hear some weird suggestions. I'm not good at it. I'll be like, all right, thanks, man. And that's why I don't have any controls. I have no controls. I'll be pointing at Paul like, cut him off. Paulie's pretty good about knowing when we're kind of fed up. But Sammy and Coach, they're both so nice to everyone.
What scares me, though,
person.
And I know that those callers that you're talking about, that 1 month ago I would have, shaken my head at and go, you can't, this is a baseball season. That's not a reasonable take about your team.
Hey, y'all. Your old hillbilly Foster calling in.
Like I said, we have our own lunatics that call.
We've gotten to the point, though, where I wonder whether the callers that seem like they're off their rocker, maybe they were right all along about this baseball team. And I'm the one who's not sane, because I continue to think that the Padres would figure it out, that there was inevitably they would have to get better and they were not going to continue to struggle. Certainly weren't going to get worse than they already were. There was no chance. They were already playing as poorly as that collection of baseball players could possibly play over the first half of the season. And yet here we are, and they've dug to new depths in 2023.
You might have noticed, and I've deleted my my personal Twitter, but you might have noticed that I'll log in on Ben and Woods from time to time in the morning to check and see. I got to make sure we're not missing anything. I got to make sure, if somebody sends us something and, hey, could you guys help with this? So I logged in for about 5 minutes this morning, and the first tweet I saw was, money can't buy wins. Blame Woods at Ben and Woods. It's 100% his fault and has to be held accountable.
I agree with that.
That's from Patty the Roddy. I have been beating my chest about spending money, but I don't know that. Boy, I fancy myself as somebody sometimes. I also loathe myself. So I don't know that AJ probably goes, that Woods is really, he's cooking. I like where his head's at. Peter, Woodsy says, we need to open the checkbook and let's get it done. I would love to think that I had that much influence. I don't.
Well, why would someone come up with that take?
I don't know, because I said
spending more money
leads
to a better baseball team. Because there are actually some logical reasons why you'd think that.
Yeah, the logic tells you if I spend money to get better players, we're going to win more games. But spending money, you have to make sure, if you spend money, you got to make sure you spend the right money. And I listen again. I thought AJ probably did a pretty good job.
Well, there's no guarantee with any
none.
baseball player that you sign. You can sign a player. You're paying for what they've done before, but you don't know how they're going to perform in the future. However, I would say that you have a better chance when you have a guy with a track record of performing And obviously, those are the players that'll be more expensive in free agency versus a completely untested guy who you're calling up from the minor leagues who may be good and may not be able to hit major league pitching. You don't know. So you give some teams, give those guys chances, and it doesn't work out well for them, and they end up at the bottom of the standings. The teams that pay players who have a track record can usually count on those guys, as Manny Machado likes to say, playing like the back of their baseball card and putting up similar numbers to ones that they have in the past. So you can at least have a higher degree of confidence in the level of talent on your team when you do spend a little bit more money on your roster.
Again, I like that you, Patty, gave me that much power, right? Power is something I wish I had. I wish I had a little bit more power, at home. I wish I had a little bit more power to make decisions, but I don't. The way that I would handle this team too is what AJ Preller's done, right? Spending some money. Now, I may not assign the same guys, may have had different targets, but I don't know anything about baseball. I don't know anything about constructing a team. Somebody has to take your offer as well, right? Like you could spend all the money, you could try to spend all the money you want. Somebody's got to be there to take that offer and do it. So I think that the spending money is inherently a good thing. Spending money on your product is a good thing and can never be looked at as a bad thing.
I will also point out that while the Padres have spent a record number for their franchise, they're over the salary cap, the luxury tax level, $277 million. They're not the only team that spends money.
Oh, no.
There are 13 teams in baseball that have payrolls over $200 million this year. You know how many of them could possibly win the World Series? One. No more than one of those teams, and maybe none of them, but no more than one of them can win in the end. So there will be, I promise you, I guarantee you, there will be at least 12 teams this year that spend over $200 million on their roster that will ultimately go home disappointed.
But ultimately, I don't care about those teams. I care about this team. And again, what we saw last night is just another example of I racked my brain with a new way to my wife asked me last night why I was in such a bad mood. And I said, because it's like the fourth day in a row, I got to go in and talk about how do you rename incompetence? Every night they're showing us something I've never seen before, right? And when you think you've hit rock bottom, the drills deeper. And you watch this team in late innings, Ben. You watch the wheels absolutely fall off this team. It's like a panic when they're in the game. A lot of times, there's been a couple of times they've been in the lead. Now, I'm not talking about bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, your closer's in, trying to get the job done, and he serves up a home run. I'm not talking about that. We've seen that before. That happens. Guys are going to put good swings on balls you leave up in the zone. Mookie Betts going to hit one out. Tip your cap, man. You move on, go to the next day. What I'm talking about is weird things. Weird stuff, like looking at the bottom of the order for the Pittsburgh Pirates, who are not a good baseball team. They look like a good baseball team. Hang on.
It's funny.
Over here.
Well, no, that's
Kenny
fine.
Morales with a home run.
I hate
Vladimir
you.
Guerrero had key hits along the way. And the Angels batting order.
If you don't,
Angels batting order just excuse me.
So anyway,
wore out
Paulie,
the Red Sox pitching staff.
anyway,
just quick aside. Kimberly Hunt sneezed on the air last night. Yes, right as I was finishing my sportscast and tossing back to her.
In the background?
No, on camera.
It went to his
We were both on camera at the end. I was about to, toss it back to her, and she sneezed, and I go, bless you. And she said, thank you. And then she moved on very professionally. And then we went to the break, and she said, that has never happened to me once.
So great.
Ever. She has been doing television,
All right.
I think for 40 plus years now in San Diego.
What kind of sneezer is she?
It was a normal sneeze. It wasn't a little teeny one. It wasn't a Ben, fall out of your chair sneeze.
Hannah sneeze. Achoo!
It was just a solid middle of the road.
Just like, all right,
yeah.
this, like, achoo.
Yeah. It was just
More powerful, less
it
powerful?
was more power, a little more powerful than, there we go. Just like that.
Okay.
Yes. And she moved on as everything professionally and gracefully.
In your mind, did you think, Woods would have roasted.
Oh,
her.
yes. I was absolutely thinking that at the time, but I was not going to go there. Nice bless you, and
Oh,
we
bless
moved
you.
on.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
And now back to the news. It's such a different world. But anyway,
Yeah.
you look at this, close game last night. and then, the ground ball, Xander double clutches for a split second, save. Nick Martinez walks the next guy. The next guy's up there going, I'm going to sacrifice everyone. I'm laying one down. Nick Martinez hits him with the pitch. That can be debated. Certainly, I get that. But you watch the wheels just crumble. Bob Melvin gets ejected. The wheels just this team, a little bit of adversity, a little bit. A runner on. They're like, when they went down 2-0 in the first inning, I went, what is Xander telling himself now? Okay, it's game over. We're out. That's it. Down 2-0. And then to let it just slip away and not even really stay in it is just so disconcerting. It's so disheartening. It's so tough to watch. It's brutal. It's brutal. There's no good way to describe it, Ben. They're circling the drain, man, if they're not down it already.
No, they certainly are. Bob Melvin, talked about it afterwards. I think the word he used was excruciating.
Yeah.
Yep.
Excruciating was the word that Bob Melvin used to describe his team.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Watching that play with that rookie trying to lay down a bunt, and it's just like, I get what you're trying to do, Nick. I do. If you go a little bit up and in, maybe he pops that bunt up and you steal an out there. But guess what he's going to do? He's giving you an out already, right? He's giving you one. Throw it down the middle, let him bunt it. You pick it up, throw it to first base, and keep yourself in the game. I've seen Nick Martinez get out of jams, second and third one out before, plenty of times. You got the stuff to do it, but man, you hit a guy. Now the bases are loaded. There's nowhere to put anybody, and it's now you get
no one
outs.
hit the ball hard after that. Looping liner that Tatis almost caught.
Yep.
Connor Joe. I mean, if the infield wasn't in, it's a little infield pop up, just beyond the dirt, but ends up falling in because you had brought the infield in.
Yep. It's
just one series, unfortunate series of events that continues to unravel for the San Diego Padres.
It's just a snowball of catastrophes.
And I want to talk about I want to talk about this in our show. And I saw you on your toilet video as you do your crapper video. Saying you wanted to hear from fans this morning. So let's open the phone lines early because we're only on until the pregame show at 8:35 today. 833-288-0973. 833-288-0973. In particular, I see a lot of, especially yesterday, even guys like our friends Ryan Phillips. This team is, where's the effort? Why are they not trying anymore? And it's hard to argue when you see the results and how badly they're playing. But I'm always hesitant. I mean, was Blake Snell trying yesterday?
Blake Snell tried his ass off.
Okay, so
last
Blake
night.
Snell did. So we can't paint with a completely broad brush. Are Tatis and Soto trying? They've been two of the most productive players in the month of June by OPS. Are they trying or are they not trying? Are we simply saying the guys who don't hit are not trying and the guys who do hit are trying? How do we define that? Because before you throw out an accusation that a team has completely lost its heart or a player is mailing it in, I want some specifics. I want you to tell me where you see a player, where you see the team not trying.
But I don't know that getting on a pulpit and being like, prove to me that they're trying is the right way to do it, Ben. I think they can't preach urgency and then not play urgent, and I understand it's hard. It's hard to hit. I understand the umpire was crappy last night. The Pittsburgh Pirates found a way to score 7 runs. Well, you scored one run. And to me, maybe it's maybe I'm painting with too broad a brush when I say they're not trying, because I'm probably in that camp of one of those guys. They're selective trying. Yeah, absolutely. They're selective trying. But are these guys killing themselves to win baseball games? Are they making the plays they need to make when the time is necessary, when crunch time comes? No, they're not. So, it's certainly not our fans or the Padre fans' fault for thinking that they're not trying, because you're losing to bottom tier teams. And the sad reality is we're now a bottom tier team. We are a team that teams are getting right against, and they're finding their stroke against. And poor Blake Snell, one bad pitch and 2 runs is the nail in that guy's coffin, and it has been all year.
Probably
That's
locked
what
up.
I'm saying.
Did you see
Probably
his
locked up
ERA?
National League Pitcher of the Month with
Did you
another
see
10
his
strikeouts
ERA
yesterday.
in
Yeah.
June is like 0.46. That's
It
ungodly
was
at that
lower
level.
than that before the game.
Oh.
Like, he gave up the 2-run shot.
I
I think
just-
it moved up from like 0.3 to 0.45.
Like, I think let it out, because I'm 98%. I agree with you. You're right in that there are some selective.
They absolutely look lifeless late in games.
That's it. They look dead.
I get that. How do you choose not to look lifeless, though? I think that's where they're
by winning a game.
Well, I know it's a chicken and the egg. Yeah, what they need is I would say, is a few wins to get going. Although we've said that before, and they win 3, and then it goes right back to where they were. So we're still a little mystified here. We want to hear from you. 833-288-0973. Again, early exit today as we lead into the Padres pregame show and the series finale with an 8:35 pregame show. Padres wrap up coming up at the bottom of the hour. Woodsy with our daily ditty selection, songs that make you sad like the Padres. It's been a very appropriate theme this week.
I could do
that
that.
Paulie picked.
I could do a new one. I have a PhD in sad songs. I could do 365 on you.
Well, maybe we'll have a chance next week.
And,
do it again.
do it again.
You
Just-
run the risk when you do this on a Sunday or you pick it on Monday morning. You're like, I mean, if they rattle off 3 or 4 wins this
It's
week,
going to be hard to
kind
pass
of
that
looks
song.
stupid.
Yeah.
But
And despite it all, Padres games continue to be sold out at a record clip, and we've got tickets to give away to the 4th of July matchup next Tuesday against the Los Angeles Angels with Shohei Ohtani coming to town, so you can win those coming up as well. Next with Ben and Woods on a Thursday morning. Thank you for getting up with us. We do appreciate
Very
that.
much.
I'm always impressed. Early risers, I salute you. Let's get our first check of traffic right now with Kelly on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Name that movie, Benjamin.
No idea.
No idea.
No.
One of our favorites, a movie we reference quite often on this show.
Goodwill Hunting.
Yes.
Really?
Yes, quite often. The great Elliott Smith, the late great Elliott Smith with Angelus. One of the just.
I don't know why that popped in my head because I still can't
Mikey, Ricky,
identify
Danny,
it.
Terry, Mikey, Davey, Timmy, Tommy, Joey, Robbie, Johnny, and Brian.
He did a few songs on the soundtrack. This was one of them. It's remember when her plane is flying away and he's sitting there looking up. Oh, dude, it rips your heart out.
Skylar.
Skyla.
Skyla.
Is that why I broke up with Skyla? You did. I didn't know you had.
Yeah, I did. Songs that make you sad, like the Padres, the theme this week.
Oh, I love Elliott Smith. Met a very untimely demise, Benjamin. I won't get into it.
I was thinking, I mean, you could be sadder. You could be a fan of the Oakland A's. You stayed up last night. You might have seen it. Domingo Germán pitching the 24th perfect game in Major League Baseball history. 27 up, 27 down for the New York Yankees in front of a sparse crowd, although there were a lot of Yankees fans in attendance at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum last night. And I thought, it's at least not the A's. However, I mean, if I'm an A's fan, I actually took the time to buy a ticket and go to a game. Probably the coolest thing you could see is a perfect game.
No
and
question.
it's not going to be by your team, so might as well be rooting for the other team to throw a perfect game. And at least you can say you were there for a little bit of history last night as it happened, and happened rather quickly. The ninth inning took only 6 pitches to get through for Domingo Germán to finish it off. There was not the constant ramping up of drama, the buildup. There was a 3-1 count in the 8th inning where he thought, going to walk the guy, he's going to lose the perfect game on a walk, and just kept throwing strikes and fouling it off, and eventually got a ground out to end the inning. But the 9th inning was fairly drama-free as Domingo Germán adds his name to Major League Baseball lore. I mean, think about something, sport around for 150 plus years, and only 24 guys have done something in the history of the sport. How big that moment was last night.
Yeah, he kind of adds to the legacy of I don't want to say no name guys. These guys all made the big leagues and they're good pitchers, but it's perfect game is crapshoot. I mean, Philip Humber, Dallas Braden, our beloved, we've had him on many times. But you say it could be worse, could be an A's fan. Well, if you're an A's fan, you had less than a fingernail's worth of expectations for the 2023 season, other than, how bad are we going to embarrass ourselves? Our team's moving. I think that's what makes it so different being a Padres fan going into the season, because that was not what you expected.
Ben could do a real or fake. Guys that have thrown perfect games.
Yeah, 100%. That'd be actually really good one.
Jim Bunning, Len Barker.
Oh, I remember Len
Tom
Barker.
Browning.
Indians,
Jim
right?
Bunning's a Hall
Mike
of Famer,
Witt.
I think.
Is he?
Yeah.
Mike Witt. Was that with the Rangers?
That was with the
Angels.
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 Mike Witt.
California Angels.
1984. Dennis Martinez. Yeah, like you look at recently.
Dennis Martinez was a good pitcher.
Domingo Germán. Felix Hernandez was a legit ace.
He's ace.
Matt Cain had a couple good years. But Philip Humber, you're like, what?
Yeah.
Roy Halladay, obviously established ace. Mark Burley, Randy Johnson, David Cohn, David
Yeah,
Wells.
those are some good ass pitchers right there. Build a nice little rotation with those guys. But there have been some just completely randos.
But you have to get lucky.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a lot of luck.
There's
involved.
going to be contact during a game. You're not striking everybody out, which means those soft contact balls can't fall in as bloops or can't just find the seeing eye holes for a single, or your fielders can't make any mistakes either. You can pitch you could pitch a literal perfect game, and your catcher could not catch a strike 3. It gets past him. The guy gets to first base, and you're out of luck. You don't get a perfect game that way. So that's why it's so rare and such a cause for celebration when it does happen
I thought it was
in
interesting.
Major League Baseball.
I flipped over to MLB Network when I got the notification. Hey, tune in for the 9th inning. All right, I'll watch this. And obviously, Oakland is an anomaly. Like everything that's going on, the team trying to relocate. There's 2,000 fans there on average, or whatever. Maybe a little more with the Yankees in town, but that's one of those things. A perfect game where the home team, if the away team is doing the perfecto, the home team is cheering to watch it. Like you're like, this game's over at this point, right? Like everybody is united and rooting. Like even if that happened in San Diego,
Yeah, if it's Kershaw or something, though, I'm not rooting for a perfect game.
Yeah,
Like, I'm
that's-
just not. That's
there's
not happening.
exceptions.
There's exceptions to
But
every
if
rule.
it's
I
some
don't know.
no-name
Also,
on-
he's a domestic abuser.
Every
Yeah.
every time the Padres had one against them, and I was there for a couple no hitter. AJ Burnett,
the
um,
Marlins.
Bud Smith.
Was the Marlins when was Burnett's when he walked like 14?
Yeah, he walked 9 and hit a batter. I think
Good
10 base
God.
runners.
What did he throw? 140
Yeah, the
pitches?
Padres should. The Padres at that game, and the Padres absolutely should have won that game. That was ridiculous that they got no hit. I was cheering for it to be broken up right to the last second, though. I was never cheering for someone to throw a no hitter against my team. Now, perfect game, and it's the A's, and your season has gone completely down the tubes. In that case, I'm probably getting on board, and let's watch some history tonight. And I think everyone was pretty unanimous last night. About 12,000 people at the Coliseum, and they all seemed happy that he got it done in the end.
All right, let's dive into it, man.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back, play the wrap up of the game, and then get to your phone calls 833-288-0973. Bennett Woods talking Padres as we do right here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's so weird, Benny, what can happen in the span of just a few days. I think Monday we came on the air and we're talking about, tough losses. You're going to need to go beat the Pirates and blah, blah, blah. And, I think we broached the subject of trading pieces and are you going to be sellers or buyers? Dennis Lynn just wrote a really nice piece in The Athletic. I'm perusing that right now. And it's talking about some of the guys that potentially could get moved if it continues to go this way. And I was reminded of what Mudd said. I believe it was on the Sunday broadcast. They asked him about, what is that like when you get close to the deadline and you see it, just using him as an example. So don't freak out. What if you saw Blake Snell get traded? They said, man, it just wrecks the clubhouse. It just sucks. It's like we're waving the white flag. Then the more I started thinking about it and watching this team the last 72 hours, do they have a right to be mad or at AJ Preller or Peter Seidler for rubber stamping it? Or shouldn't their attitude be like, yep, this is on us? Like I can't get mad. I can't get mad that you guys, because of our poor play, had to go out and do what's quote unquote best for the franchise moving forward. You've already quote unquote quit this season. It seems like you're spiraling right now. How can you blame us? You can't blame Blake. Blake's pitched his heart out. You guys don't score runs for him. He takes these L's that are undeserving. Guy had a .46 ERA in a whole month, 7 starts. Like, he's doing his job. He deserves to go to a contender. I don't think you can blame anybody but yourselves. If you're grousing in the clubhouse about them moving pieces and waving the white flag, I don't think there's anybody to blame but yourself. Yeah, I
agree with you. I mean, you can't complain if you weren't getting the job done, and then the team has to go out and make a trade.
Now, if you're the Brewers last year, who were very much in it and
that's different,
and fighting and everything, and then they pull the rug out from under you for financial reasons, or you don't think you're going to be able to re-sign him, that's when you have a right to be upset. I don't know how any Padre could be like, what are we doing, man? We're trading Hader and Snell, and we're 9 games out of a wild card, and we've lost 7 in a row. Like, how could you be mad at that? You couldn't. They will. Rest assured, they'll be mad, but they really shouldn't be.
You think they would be?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that they would.
100%.
I think they're big leaguers, and they would understand, especially a veteran team, that they put themselves in that situation.
Yeah.
We'll get to the Padres wrap up in a second, but it was brought up yesterday that Manny Machado skipped out of the game on Tuesday without talking to the media and answering questions afterwards. Manny, it should be noted, came in yesterday before the game and sat down and answered extensive questions in the San Diego Union Tribune. And if you want to blame someone for the Padres' poor season, Manny's way up there on the list. He's underperformed for, big time for what you expect from Manny, for what he's paid for the season, and he owned it. He said, yeah, I'm embarrassed how I've been playing. I think we're all embarrassed. We know how good of a team that we are, and we're not living up to that standard. So I'm telling you, the urgency and the want is what's going to separate us. I think it's there in everyone. We just got to find it, and when we do, let's not let go of it. And that was just one of many quotes from Manny Machado, who did step up, and that's why I didn't want to be too hard on Manny. It's 162 games. If you don't want to talk one particular post game, there's always going to be the next morning where you can talk to the same guy who's right there, and you're going to, as long as you're not hiding every single day for like weeks and weeks to avoid accountability. I don't mind if a guy needs to cool off for one post game and go, I'm just not in the right headspace to talk right now. I can't, I'll get you later. Or you actually do need treatment sometimes. Hey, my spot with the training rooms right now, I got to go. I can't talk to you. I get that. So I wanted to make sure that it was acknowledged that Manny did speak yesterday extensively on the Padres' struggles and, owned them.
You said that was pregame.
That was pregame, yeah.
Okay. Did we see a lot of urgency last night in a 7-1 loss to the Pittsburgh Pirates again? So, again, it's great. I wanted it. I told you I want to see some eyewash. Great. That's part of it, right? That's part of it. But you just continue to lose games. And I know it's not that cut and dry and black and white. I know baseball's hard. I know Mitch Keller throws hard. I know he's a good pitcher.
I actually thought, especially early in the game, I saw a lot of hustle. I saw them making routine ground balls a little closer at first base. Doesn't do you any good. Doesn't get you on base to be beat by one step instead of two. But I thought I saw some of that eyewash hustle, at least early in the game yesterday. I mean, like you said, it doesn't really, it's eyewash because it doesn't really do anything to actually help you win a game. But I did think I saw it, and it didn't do any good whatsoever. In that game yesterday. Well, we'll hear about it with our Padres wrap-up. First, this hour on 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by California Coast Credit Union. With MasterCard Local, CalCoast Credit Union members can earn 5% cash back on purchases made with CalCoast MasterCard credit and debit cards every time they shop at participating businesses. Learn more at calcoastcu.org/shop-local. All right, let's get to our Padres wrap-up, and then we'll take your calls at 833-288-0973 here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto family, here's Kelly Danick.
Traffic is sponsored by Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Hey guys, one problem. Northbound side of the 805 near the King Freeway. 3-vehicle accident over to the right shoulder. Looks like that is in the clearing stage. Coach Quintero and Joe Musgrove's choice. They're a different kind of dealership, looking to be a solid community partner and deliver excellent service. Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Chevrolet, find new roads. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
It's a shame if they lose.
You can visit Pity City, but you can't live there.
Oh, it's been a great day today. Can't wait for more.
Hey guys, it's Woodsy live from the Crapper again.
Did you miss any of the Padres game yesterday?
Cancel the parade. That's why you play the games.
Oh, God, here we go.
It's the Padres wrap-up with Ben and Woods.
Slam Diego? More like fail Diego.
Presented by Hamul Casino. With thrilling slots and tables and all the best rewards, Hamul Casino has all the fun you're looking for. Hamul Casino, fun above all else. On 97.3 The Fan.
I just felt the way that the roster is built, they would have to outscore their opponents to win.
Switch hitting Carlos Santana, batting right-handed, goes after the first pitch, sends it high and deep to left field. Soto back to watch. This one gonna go. A 2-run homer for Carlos Santana, who hit one out last night as well. He had been 0 for 10 in his career against Blake Snell, and the Pirates take a 2-0 lead. Now the 1-2, broken bat liner into right field, charging in. Davis has to play it on a hop. Fernando rounding third, he'll score. Santana cuts the throw, and an RBI single with 2 outs for Xander Bogaerts has put the Padres on the board. Here's the 0-1. That's lined into right field. Fernando coming over and in. Slides forward. Couldn't make the catch. Had to play it on one hop. That'll get a run home as everybody had to wait and see whether they could advance. They do. Gonzalez scores, and the Pirates lead 3-1. Here's the pitch from Martinez, and that is looped into shallow center. That'll get down for a base hit. Zawinski has scored. Triolo's on his way. He will score. A 2-run single for Connor Joe, and it's 5-1 Pittsburgh. And the pitch is grounded towards first, and that'll somehow get up the line and into right field for a base hit. Palacios has scored. Joe's on his way. He scores. 2 more for the Buccos. It's 7-1. 2-2 again. Kim waits. Runners lead at all 3 bases. And the pitch is grounded towards third base. It'll be a fair ball right near the line. Triolo's throw to first is in time, and the ball game is over. Padres have dropped 4 straight and 7 of their last 9 after a 7-1 defeat here in Pittsburgh tonight.
Yeah, it feels that way right now, unfortunately. So, you know, look, it's excruciating for everybody here. And, you know, at a time when we should be playing better, it felt like we were going to, we've gone the other way. And now it's not just offensively, we're not playing good baseball across the board.
Well, they're not trying to sugarcoat it, that's for sure. At least the Padres are treat us with enough respect as fans to acknowledge how badly they are playing right now, because it's painfully obvious to see. And yes, the home plate umpire, Chad Fairchild, was terrible. Terrible last night. Balls and strikes, the bunt, call that seemed to me to be a fairly ridiculous call that went against the Padres. But in no way did any of those things really cost the Padres the game. If you only score 1 run against the Pittsburgh Pirates, you still have to place the blame squarely on your team's offense, not on bad calls, not on the bullpen meltdown, in the 7th inning. It didn't help. Obviously, it turned what was a close game, a winnable game, into an unwinnable game. But ultimately, it's It's on the offense to put some runs on the board, and it continues to be the main problem plaguing the San Diego Padres in 2023.
Yeah, it's tough night for Nick Martinez last night. Did not get an out. You know, when you bring a guy in to keep a game close, he does not get one single out. 5 runs, 4 hits, 1 walk, 1 hit by pitch. ERA's now above 4, and in his last 7 appearances, Ben, it's approaching 12. In his last 15, and then so Steven Wilson's he's out on the IL. Now you got Josh Hader, but you need to have a lead at some point. He's got to have to throw at some point. He's been rotting back there, Benny. Tim Hill and Luis Garcia are now your high leverage options for the San Diego Padres, and that doesn't bode well unless you get an 8-9 run lead to have those guys at the back end of your bullpen. So it's all pretty bad right now. The offense is horrendous. That play last night, the ground ball to Xander, the double clutch, missed him by a hair, right? And the double clutch is what costs you. I mean, it's just the little things like that. This team allows things like that to absolutely snowball. You walk the next guy, you hit the guy that's squaring to bunt.
The Xander play didn't bother me as much. I mean, he had to slide to his side there to grab it. Like,
it just couldn't get
the grip. Like, that happens.
It happens.
It's not like it was a candy hop.
No.
What
happens is that guy eventually came around to score.
Yeah, they always do.
They always do. Seemingly, they're for as good as they have been at preventing runs. You know, it's just little things like that compound and really. You've seen it, and I'd love to go back and watch the last 30 games. And I've texted you guys when it happens. You know, the wheels are coming off really quick. This team really folds. They fold when one bit of adversity is thrown their way from the 6th inning on, pretty much. And you know their record when trailing after the 6th is atrocious.
So that's a really bad quality because there's adversity in almost every single baseball game you play.
And damn near in every inning you play.
Yeah.
You know, there's a guy hitting a 104-mile-an-hour grounder at you, a ball hitting the gap you got to track down on a wet track. There's all kinds of stuff that happens that's you could look at as adversity. But man, it just continues to steamroll this team. And you watch them when they get into those later innings, especially if they're down, they fold. They fold every time. And weird stuff happens, right? Weird challenges, hit by pitches, not covering a bag on a ground ball to first. Weird things have happened. And you can't blame anybody. You can't blame the umpire, man. You can't. If that guy's going to give you an out, Nick, throw a 2-seamer down the middle and let him bunt it back to you, take the play, take the out, make it happen.
Just like you said, and that's kind of how it's been for us here. If one thing goes wrong, it tends to snowball a little bit, and whether it's breaks or not, at the end of the day, we still got beat 7-1, and we didn't do enough offensively, and we didn't do enough on the pitching end. Les Blake, who pitched another really good game, gave up 3 hits and 2-run homer in the first, but pitched pretty much exactly the way he's been pitching for quite some time now.
Pitched his tail off.
And Bob did what a manager, all they really can do to try to fire up his team. He got ejected from the game for the 4th time this season and 58th time in his career. Did I hear Don and Mudd mention that a couple of Steven Wilson got ejected?
Yeah, he got ejected.
The injured list.
Martinez ejected.
After the inning as well, he got ejected. Also, we didn't get to see what they said that got them tossed out of the game. But it wasn't the umpire's fault that the Padres lost that one. Again, that goes squarely on the offense. Let's get a couple phone calls in here before the top of the hour. Daniel, you want to talk about the Padres here with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, guys.
Hey, buddy.
I was just calling to kind of touch on a point that you made, Ben, about Tatis and Soto. Going into this Pittsburgh series, I noticed both of them are in the top 10 in the league in OPS. Soto's number 2 in the league in on-base percentage. And so I think it speaks to a bigger problem of depth, because when we have 2 guys performing in that top 10 group in the entire league, we're going to have to expect other guys on the team to at least get them in. And we haven't seen that. And it's unfortunate that Manny's been struggling so much. But yeah, I think we're just not a deep team. And so when one guy like Manny or Xander who's been hurt, when they're struggling, we really don't have anybody else that can step up or even just play solid baseball on the offensive end. And I think we've just been expecting guys that aren't great offensive players to overperform. And yeah, I think that's the problem. Same in the bullpen. I know Woods mentioned it too with our bullpen. You look at the depth, and yeah, we're kind of screwed.
Yeah, you look at that's the one it's just it had a lot of promise, with Suarez going down, that obviously hurt, but you had Wilson step up and you thought Garcia was going to be better. He has not been. You didn't really know what to expect from Brent Honeywell. You had a lot of unknowns really going into the season, but you saw some good things. We saw some good things out of Brent Honeywell early. And then, every time he would come in, it was at least one home run. It seemed like he averaged a home run per appearance for a while. And now when you're Bob Melvin and Ruben Niebla, and you go, well, who do we go to now in a high leverage situation? Who are we calling to get loose? You're on a wing and a prayer, really, with the guys that are left in there. And I'm watching the Pirates last night, Benny. I know you saw the same thing I did. You saw the relievers they brought in. The Pittsburgh Pirates are bringing in guys throwing 95, 96, 97. The Giants did it. Oh my God, the Giants bullpen, like everyone's getting on track against this team as far as the other bullpen's concerned, and our bullpen's imploding.
I think we knew the Padres' depth, especially the bench depth, was going to be an issue for the team. But if you've got your stars performing, when Xander Bogaerts drove in Fernando Tatis Jr. in the 6th inning, it was notable for how rare it seems to have happened this year, and you expected it to happen a lot. Like, oh. Yeah, Tatis going to be running all over the place. Xander's going to probably have, 140 RBI if he's going to be batting cleanup behind those guys this year. Easy. That guy's going to be driving in those kind of runs all the time. And it was like, wow, look, Xander got a hit and Fernando came home. You remember seeing that at all this year? So yes, Daniel, that has definitely been an issue.
Great call.
Let me, I got more thoughts on that as well. We'll also play some Real or Fake when we come back, and a Throwback Thursday, a real doozy coming up next on The Fan. Javino Saris join us on a Smart Baseball Thursday, a little bit early. He's going to join us at 8 o'clock on our Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. That's because Sam Levitt already in the building for an 8:35 a.m. pregame show. Joe Musgrove on the mound. If you're in a tailspin and you're the San Diego Padres, Blake Snell may be the hottest pitcher, but I think Joe is the guy that I want on the mound when a team is facing adversity.
I agree.
If there's a toughness DNA in somewhere inside the Padres, Joe is the guy that I feel it brings out the best in the team when they face some adversity and they see Joe out there. So we'll see if he can turn things around today, at least in game 3 of that series. Or you get swept by the Pirates and there's just nothing left to say. You go into Pittsburgh, you get swept by a team that lost 12 of 13. You're a lost cause. You're hopeless right now. That's what it's looking like for sure. I want to take a couple more calls before we get to real or fake. People hanging on the line. I also wanted to add one more thing to what I think it was Dave who said about the depth. And he said, you got all these guys who aren't doing the job and bringing in, Soto and Tatis, who are at least getting on base. And that is very true. And it goes back. We talked a lot about AJ Preller this week and the construction of this roster. And I wonder how much responsibility. I think that there were conservative projections when you look at Jake Cronenworth and you go, I don't know that we can trust Jake to put up a 275 average and an 800 OPS. He hasn't done that in a couple of years. But, I mean, if he just hits 245 with a 750 OPS, we're going to be really, really good. Matt Carpenter, yeah, he's not going to hit 14 home runs in the summer like he did with the Yankees. But if Matt Carpenter just comes out, hits, plays DH solid, hits 15, 20 home runs, hits, 230, we're going to have plenty of offense in that. I think the Padres actually were fairly conservative in their projections of players. They weren't going, hey, if Trent Grisham has a career season and Jake Cronenworth is the best first baseman in the league, we might be good. No, they said, hey, we've got 4 stars. All we need is guys to play even a little bit under their average, and that should be okay. That's a smart way to go about your business usually. Unfortunately, these guys at the bottom of the order are not just underperforming their career averages. The bottom has dropped out. The bottom has dropped out of Jake Cronenworth. Matt Carpenter has been close to useless. I know he got a hit yesterday in the month of June at the plate. Nelson Cruz hasn't contributed anywhere near to what I think they hoped he would. He's been better than some of the other guys, but still not good. Austin Nola. I mean, you go, Austin Nola, even if he hits 200 and, plays a decent catcher, that's not going to kill us. But if he hits 100, it does. All of these guys, the bottom has dropped out of them this season, and that's the depth issue that really has faced the Padres this year.
Yeah, I couldn't have missed more on Crony. I thought he would really benefit from this, and I thought Grisham would really benefit. And Grisham's come on a little bit as of late. Would it surprise you to learn that he and Juan Soto have the same number of barrels this season, 25 each? Because it did surprise me. And when Trent does hit it, he hits it hard. He's just remains a little bit passive at the plate. I mean,
he's a frustrating player to watch. He's not as bad as you think. And the numbers behind the numbers are a little bit better. They're telling you Grisham's gotten a little unlucky for what his numbers that he's put up.
His expected batting average and expected slug are well above where he's at right now. The lineup is out if you want to hear it. Fernando's back in the leadoff spot. He's going to be DHing today, Ben. Juan Soto in left, Manny Machado at third, Xander Bogaerts in the cleanup spot again. Jake Cronenworth in the 5 playing first. Rugi's in right. Then Ha-Seong Kim, and then Trent Grisham, and then Austin Nola. And that's how your San Diego Padres are lining
after the
up.
4th spot, it's pretty much
after the
wing and a prayer.
I'd say after the 3rd spot.
Xander had a couple hits yesterday, but
he had fisted a
that's true.
Fisted a broken bat single that he celebrated. I thought the guy was going to catch
after
it.
the 2nd spot. Then you have no idea what you're getting from the Padres. Let's go to Mike. You are next up here with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, guys.
Hey, buddy.
Live from the Crapper.
Live from the Crapper, my friend. My favorite new bit.
I have why I think the Padres are slipping right now. We had the late start with the World Baseball Classic, and I think we've had maybe the most players in the World Baseball Classic.
I've heard that before.
On top of Tatis's injury or coming back late, that's 20 game skid. And then Musgrove's injury, Darvish not getting his starts, even the controversy with Nick Martinez not getting his role. Is he in? Is he out? Yeah, and then if Bogarts has this wrist injury, why'd they even let him play in the World Baseball Classic?
100%.
Yeah, that's why I think the slow skid is.
Well, I think those are all great April, maybe early May excuses.
Should kind of be through it.
Really
End of
good
June.
excuses. That, based on that, though, the Padres should now be hitting their stride, though. There's no excuse. If that was really the cause, there's no excuse for now. The Padres should be ramping up and playing their best baseball. Why are they going
it's
the other direction?
It's time to get through the rule changes, time to get through the pitch clock, time to get through the banning of the shift, time to get through the WBC.
All may have been factors,
absolutely,
especially early in the season.
And listen, in
everyone's
April,
adjusted now.
Everyone's adjusted. Shohei Ohtani is not having any issues whatsoever. Absolutely dominating.
I believe that Juan Soto was impacted by the pitch clock. He adjusted.
Yep,
he absolutely adjusted. Everyone else
Blake
has
Snell
to as well.
was very impacted by the pitch clock.
He adjusted.
And look at him. He adjusted like he adjusted like a mofo.
If you want to call in and play some real or fake, a chance to qualify here at the end of June for a getaway to Las Vegas, you can call right now, 833-288-0973, 833-288-0973. While we do that, let's play our Throwback Thursday. Paulie has found one of my favorites. Woodsy, you are just you have the gift of gab. There's no doubt about that. You can riff off the cuff as well as anyone I have ever worked with or really maybe ever met in my life, especially when you're doing our impromptu 60-second spots during the commercial breaks. You just did one for Ford.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about Bird Rock Coffee, Swag You. You've got some great spots. And one day I was just amazed at how good you were. So we thought we'd throw you a challenge.
I believe this was based on the background music. I believe this was in the Reindl report. Yep. This was June 24th, 2021.
Okay,
so this week,
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And apparently I had some story about a sex doll. Weird. And that led to Woods' impromptu live read.
This is now a bit that I like. And since you always put me on the spot, Woods, I am going to give you random things to endorse. And then you've got to do a 60-second spot for whatever I give you to endorse. Like, sex doll, go.
On the spot?
Yeah.
Hey guys, Woodsy here from Ben and Woods. Wanted to tell you about a new discovery that has just made its way to my front door. Listen, I know it may sound a little odd, but listen, my wife works weird hours. I work weird hours. And sometimes I can't handle my business the way that I want to handle my business. That's why I sometimes use Real Girl. Real Girl is made of silicone, and it really honestly feels like the real thing. I couldn't endorse a product more. It's easy to store, and it's easy to clean. So try Real Girl at realgirl.com.
Paul, cut that, send it to the account. Use the code
Woodsy.
Yeah.
Use the code Woodsy at checkout. Yeah, for 15% off your initial. Would you?
It's easy. It's a store.
Yeah, easy store.
And easy too.
By the way,
clean.
Would you ever?
Would you?
Yeah, would you?
Would you? Well, if you sold it to me, absolutely.
Yeah, right?
I trust you. You have a trustable voice on radio.
Very, very trustable voice. Would you do it?
Would I do it?
I don't think I could do it.
I
really don't think I could do it. I don't know that. And there may be someone out there listening right now. I'm not judging you. I'm just telling you my perspective. One of my favorite TV shows, Dave, ever. It's one of the best shows ever. He literally has one, and he leaves it out in his house. Yeah, on the show. Obviously, he's playing a character. I don't think it's that far removed from who he is.
Yeah.
That being said,
my wife came into the living room when I was watching that episode.
Yes,
she doesn't watch the show. She just looks at it and she goes, "What the hell are you watching?"
Yeah,
because it's a full-on love scene.
It's a full-on thing. Yes,
him and his doll, and I'm going. It doesn't. I don't know.
I
had nothing to say.
I don't think I could do it at the end of the day. Even if I knew no one would find out.
I just don't think I'd want to. I mean, if I absolutely had to, if you're gonna pay me a lot, I could. I just don't want to.
Yeah, I don't think I would either, but I honestly don't think I could.
Couldn't even physically do it.
I don't think physically. I would feel more like a deviant than I've ever felt in my life, and I've felt like a deviant before. I like feet, so yeah, that would be a tough one.
All right, last chance to get in 833-288-0973. Let's get to a throwback Thursday game of real or fake.
Some are here for the compelling sports talk with Ben and Woods. You can go plow through another donut. It's time for Real or Fake on 97.3 The Fan. Tell the people what they'll win today.
First, Real or Fake, brought to you by Home Turf. Save time and water with pet-friendly, always green grass. And get a free consultation by calling the team at Home Turf at 888-4SD-TURF or go to sdhometurf.com. Is it real or is it fake grass? Roger is our contestant today. Hello, Roger. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Got my coffee in.
All right, so
ready to get knocked out.
I was perfect games would have been a great category. That came so late though that I had already submitted today's topic for real or fake, Roger. Nothing more American than baseball on the 4th of July coming up just a few days. So the two collide today in a game of real or fake. Roger, I will give you a name. You tell me if they are a real member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown or a fake. In this case, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence.
Seems easy, but
Hall of Famer or Declaration of Independence signer. Roger, if you can get 4 out of 7, you will qualify for our grand prize getaway to Resorts World Las Vegas, 2-night stay and tickets to Luke Bryan. You can get tickets at axs.com or rwlasvegas.com coming end of August, early September. Roger, you ready to play?
I believe so. Let me get clear that so it's a real name.
Real is a baseball Hall of Famer, and fake is a signer of the Declaration of Independence.
Oh, okay. That's right.
Yeah. All right. So I will give you a name. You can ask Woodsy for help if you'd like. Round 1. Caesar Rodney. Real or fake baseball Hall of Famer?
Fake.
Caesar Rodney.
That's fake.
That is fake. Sign the Declaration of Independence. Woodsy's eyes light up like I would have gotten that one wrong. All right, that's one for you. You're on your road to victory. All right, let's go.
I went to school. That's why I know.
Oh, very good. All right, let's go. Round 2. Elmer Flick. Real or fake?
Real. Real.
Real?
Hall of Famer.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right fielder for the Cleveland Indians, inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1963. Roger's on fire. All right, here we go. Round 3. Oliver Wolcott.
Real.
Nope.
Sorry. Yeah. I already said it, but real.
Yeah, you said it. You said it. That's okay.
I knew that was.
You've got a couple misses. You can use one right there. That is a signer of the Declaration of Independence. All right, here we go. Round 4. William Whipple. Real or fake, Roger?
That was fake.
That is fake. Signer of the Declaration of Independence. Roger knows his stuff. All right, all you need is
dialed.
one more, and you are good to go. All right.
Take this off, Woodsy.
For the win, Roger. Roger Bresnahan.
Oh, that's real. Real.
Yeah,
real.
Catcher for the New York Giants, inducted in 1945, and that is a win for Roger. Congratulations. Hang on the line, Roger.
God, that was
You are into the drawing for our grand prize for Las Vegas. Woods, last 2 for you. John Clarkson.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer. Boston Bean Eaters pitcher, inducted in 1963. And Frank Thomas.
It's a Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I was like, what is he doing
Thought
here?
I'd throw one that sounded so obvious in there that it might make you second guess yourself. But yes, the big hurt, Frank Thomas.
Yes.
Is definitely a Hall of Famer. I thought for a second, wait, maybe there was a signer of the Declaration and Frank Thomas didn't get in the Hall of Fame. Am I overthinking this? No, he's a Hall of
he's
Famer.
Hall of
Very
Famer.
easy.
They hurt, man.
All right, we have some great audio for you in Don't Do This coming up next, and horrible audio as well.
You're absolutely right.
I started playing this morning, and Woods goes, "What the hell is that?" I was like, "Ben sent it
sent
over."
this. I'm like, whoa. All right. Yeah,
I mean, it's
strap
sports
in.
related.
It is sports
and
related.
it's horrible.
It's terrible.
So it's perfect for Don't Do This. We'll get to that coming up next after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
Don't do this.
I got a little surprise for you, you know what I'm saying?
Don't do this.
Listen, if I've done something bad, I mean, tell me I'm a bad boy. Just tell me I'm a bad boy.
Why? Just why?
I get the argument. You don't have to explain it to me. I'm not a moron.
Let me tell you why I am a dumbass.
It's time for Don't Do This
Don't do this.
on 97.3 The Fan.
Don't forget the Odyssey app lets you jump back to moments you missed. Like, don't do this. Let's say you missed this segment. You can go back and find it on the Odyssey app. Just search 97.3 The Fan. Tap earlier today to get started. All right. Don't do this begins with a funny piece of audio. Last night, the NHL draft. Last week was the NBA draft. Victor Wembanyama was the prize. Last night, Connor Bedard was the guy. Generational talent, kid from Vancouver, Washington, was selected first overall as expected by the Chicago Blackhawks. But the don't do this moment came, I believe, 4 picks later at number 5 when the Montreal Canadiens were on the clock. And, as they do, they're trying to make it into a television event. It's a draft. It's kind of, when you think about it, it's pretty boring, actually. But, before the advent of ESPN, drafts were not televised. They were like conference calls
on the phone.
They were held on the phone. They happened in 20 minutes or so. They just whipped through them. But now they're made for TV events. So you got to take 10 minutes between picks. You got to interview people. You got to put on a whole show. So part of the show last night in the NHL was having guests come on to announce the pick. And the Canadians had their goaltender, Carey Price, come out to announce their selection.
It's a cool move.
Yeah.
See a current player make those picks.
One problem, though. Well, I'll let you hear what happened.
Bonsoir. Le Canadiens de Montreal are proud to select David.
He's looking around.
He's forgotten.
We planned it that way. David Reinbacher.
Reinbacher. The guy said.
So David Reinbacher.
How'd you get that?
Yeah.
Reinbacher.
That was, I think that was the GM or whoever stuck their nose in. Yeah. We just told you 4 seconds ago, David Reinbacher, and he couldn't remember the last name.
If you've ever had to do public speaking, a lot of times we've done some events together, Ben. We got to go up and speak. And as you're walking on the stage, they'll say, don't forget, like you're walking up there, like, don't forget to thank so-and-so. And you're like, it's not in the script. Write it in the script. If it's not in the script, I'm going to go up there. I'm going to butcher this thing.
He needed to have a card with the name printed on it. Even Roger Goodell, Adam Silver, they got a card right there with the name printed on it.
Le Canadiens de Montreal are proud to select David.
It's David.
Who's the
How many Davids
color
are
drains
on the
from
floor,
his face.
like, waiting?
All these Davids are like, me?
Connor Mick.
We planned it that way. David Reinbacher.
Ouch.
That's my favorite part.
Remember, this guy's
Reinbacher.
job is to get pelted with hard
Yes.
rubber discs that are going like 120 miles an hour.
Yep.
So, all right, he can't remember a guy's long last name. I get it.
We're going to go with 3 don't do this just today in honor of Throwback Thursday. I've got an update. Paulie did this story in the Reindl Report maybe last week talking about Baby Gronk, the kid who just gets exposed by his father, taken around to different colleges for clout, and his dad has tagged every human being alive to try to get some clout for this kid.
I'm proud that I have never clicked once on a Baby Gronk story. If
Yeah.
I've seen it, I've avoided it.
The guy
I am
that
not even giving it any attention.
The guy that wrote about Baby Gronk in The Athletic has been dragged. Like he has to get security at his house. People are so mad at him for even giving this guy in the air. I guess that's what I'm doing here. But the
He's
update,
like what's the ball dad? Lonzo Lamar Ball. LeVar Ball. Yeah, he's like on steroids.
Way worse.
Yeah,
way worse. So NFL legend Rob Gronkowski says that Baby Gronk's father has gone too far, and he's going to send him a cease and desist. He said the dad has hit him up 500 times. He said it's to a point where it's awkward. It's too far. 4 weeks ago, my brother told me, "Yo, have you seen Baby Gronk?" Did I see him? I go, the dad has hit me up 500 times already. He said, "Don't do anything." The dad is so annoying. So they're actually going to C&D this guy for just whipping,
and
whipping.
Who more than Gronk like loves a good bit?
Oh,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
And he's like,
His
"God,
life is a bit.
Settle down, Jesus."
Yeah, when Gronk thinks you've gone too far in your bit, you've gone
too far.
way too far in your bit.
No doubt.
All right, finally, this is more of a DJ Mega don't.
Yeah,
like a
yes,
mega,
a
like
mega
a
don't do
mega don't do this. Another UFC fight coming up, and as usual, they've got the pre-fight news conference with one of the fighters sitting at the table. Saturday night main event. Sean Strickland is this guy's name, and I mean, I don't know if this is genuinely what he thinks or he's just
this is unreal.
Make waves. But if I was in charge of the fight, it's canceled immediately. I mean, it's canceled immediately after this news conference. We got about 60 seconds of it here for you, I think.
We need to go back to like taking women out of the workforce, and maybe that's maybe that's where we f***ed up, you guys. We let women vote. No offense.
Oh my God.
But,
No
but let me tell you, no, I want to tell you guys something. Think
So
about
happy.
America prior to women voting.
Oh my
They try to ban alcohol. I don't even drink, but I'm not trying to ban alcohol. So what you did, man, you let these women come in the workforce. Now we make less money. You got kids raising themselves on TikTok. We need to go back to like 1942, you know, especially after, you know, maybe 1958 after we up the Germans. We need to put women back in the kitchen. We need to take only one man needs to be working. So I think as a collective man group, we need to elect somebody that's going to put women back in the kitchen, put one man working, raise the wages, and build a wall.
Oh my God.
How do you feel about going to therapy, Sean?
For what?
For what? Holy crap! He's a former neo-Nazi, by the way. Just FYI.
How do you feel about going to therapy?
Really?
In
For
Anaheim.
what?
No.
I don't think there's any former about
Good
this.
Lord, man.
For what?
If I'm Dana White, just never mind. I mean, never mind.
Yeah, we're good on that.
Wow.
He doesn't even have his history right. Prohibition came before women got the right to vote. So you can't blame women for voting alcohol down.
I mean, does he seem
No,
like a
no, it's
history
true, yeah.
buff to you? Is he?
Not exactly.
That's like shocking. It's shocking.
He's not exactly Howard Zinn, great historian.
Yes, Howard Zinn. You want to read a real history book? Read Howard Zinn's People's History of the United States. That book will knock your socks off. I can't do a show without mentioning Good Will Hunting.
We've already done it
Can't do
twice.
I've done it twice already. I can't.
It's a movie
do it.
that came out in 1994, and you reference it
By the way,
at least twice a
It's
day.
a real travesty that Connor Bedard went to the Blackhawks and not the Bruins. Connor Bedard would be the greatest
Connor
name
Bedard.
in Bruins history. Connor Bedard would be the best. There's nothing better than that, Connor.
Better than Bobby Orr?
Yeah, way better. Did you see Bedard last night? It would be my favorite. I would find myself rooting and watching Bruins games just to hear them pronounce Connor Bedard. It's phenomenal. Thank you. Well, that was all of us. So thank you, all of us.
All right, we'll come back. If you want to light the phone lines and keep talking Padres, we can. 833-288-0973. Padres aren't the only team in the torture chamber, though, Woods.
This is the segment I've been looking forward to most today. Is I want to talk about the New York Mets and what their owner, Steve Cohen, said. I thought if somebody DM me and said it's not that juicy, and I listened to it, I go, I don't know, like I got some information out of there yesterday, and this is an interesting day for the New York Mets, and really, the Padres should kind of be following suit right now.
All right, that's coming up next. Stick around for more Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. This hour 97.3 The Fan is brought to you by SC Johnson Off. And we are less than 1 hour away from the start of today's pregame show as the Padres wrap up their 3-game series at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. Joe Musgrove on the mound.
I hate trying to salvage. I hate that word. I like the word. It's a good word. But anytime a broadcaster says looking to salvage something, it's like,
things haven't been going
yeah,
well.
we're in really good shape if you're looking to salvage.
The best thing that can happen
is a salvage.
Salvaging something. It's like, you pull something out of a garbage can. You're salvaging it.
Yes.
It ain't anything special.
I salvaged my career when I met you, Ben.
That turned out pretty good.
It did. It really did.
Maybe the Padres can do the same at this point.
They need to meet their Ben Higgins.
Pull the season out of the garbage can starting today.
Salvage it.
Or they go to a season worst 7 games under 500. They've actually been 6 games under 500 once. Back on May 20th, they fell to 20-26 when they had lost 10 of 11 there in that real May swoon. And they've been above that since then until yesterday when they dropped back 6 games under 500 at 37-43. So they need to win to avoid a new low water mark.
Oh, good.
Today.
Good. Setting records. I like that all these rookies that are starting for the Pirates are all getting their first hits.
Yeah. First home run.
First home run. It's like the San Diego Padres, where memories are made. Not our memories, your memories.
So, as we mentioned before, the Padres aren't the only franchise in the torture chamber right now, overpaying for an under-delivering product. We're going to talk about the New York Mets and what their owner, Steve Cohen, had to say right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the premier Buick GMC of Carlsbad Traffic Center, part of the Premier Auto Family, here's Kelly Denick.
Traffic is sponsored by Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Getting reports of a hit-and-run crash westbound King Freeway before 25th Street. It's got the right lane blocked and a collision on the Otay Lakes Road off-ramp of northbound 125. Coach Quintero and Joe Musgrove's choice. They're a different kind of dealership, looking to be a solid community partner and deliver excellent service. Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Chevrolet, find new roads. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
So kind of weird in the similarities yesterday between the Padres and the Mets.
Very
already, obviously, got 2 of the 3 highest paid payrolls, both several games under 500. The Mets are 36-44. The Padres are 37-43. And then yesterday, the Mets are playing the Milwaukee Brewers. They're down by 1 run. I think it's the 7th or 8th inning. And the Brewers are rallying. And there's a pitch that Joey Wiemer, it takes like a check swing and is hit on the hand. And they rule it a hit by pitch, not a swing. And he gets first base, extends the rally. Christian Yelich hits a 2-run single. It's game over. Buck Showalter comes out, argues, the play to no avail. He gets ejected. Very much shades of the Padres-Pirates game with Bob Melvin getting ejected for arguing the bunt, non-bunt, hit by pitch yesterday for the Pirates. So just kind of weird, the similarities there.
Yeah, both teams, massive expectations, massive payroll. Both teams, veteran, respected manager in Buck Showalter and Bob Melvin, and both teams woefully underperforming right now.
And both teams' fan bases
losing their minds,
wanting to hear from the ultimate guy in charge, the owner of the team, the guy who's spending all of this money. In our case, Peter Seidler, and we're hoping to hear from Peter in the very near future.
Well, and the Mets GM did come out, Billy Epler. We played the audio yesterday, had a lot to say, took a lot of the blame off of Buck Showalter, put it on himself. And then Steve Cohen stepped to the podium in New York yesterday and delivered this.
You feel is responsible for your team's struggles this season?
Well, there's plenty of blame to go around, right? I mean, I'll take responsibility, right? I'm the owner. And so, listen, ultimately, for some reason, we're not as crisp as we were last year. We had a lot of players perform really well last year, and this year they're not performing quite as well. What the reason is, I don't know. It's a little bit above my pay grade. Okay, it's not my forte. It doesn't mean it has to last all season, but the reality is the reality. Players know it, management knows it, I know it, and hope is not a strategy, right? So this is what we're faced. We don't have a ton of options, right? I mean, until we figure out where we are, there's still a lot of baseball to be played, all the euphemisms. And, I'm a realist, like it's June 28th. The trade deadline's August 1st. A little bit more than a month. We got to get going.
All right. So, he steps up there and goes, I mean, I'll take some blame. I am the owner of this team. I don't know why we are underperforming. And I wonder if Peter Seidler, answers a similar question, if he would give a similar answer to what we're hearing. I mean, does the owner accept any responsibility, Woods, or is it just the owner's job to provide the resources to the people that he has hired, and then it's up to them to do the best job that they can with what the owner gives them?
Man, it's such a tough question to answer. If I own a business and that business fails, ultimately it's on me because I hired the people to run it. I don't know what type of owner he is. It seems, he has tweeted that I watch every game. I'm very involved. Now, if he's a meddling owner, a George Steinbrenner type, then yeah, I would put some of the blame on him. Again, we don't know how Peter Seidler operates. I don't know if he's texting AJ every day, every inning. I have no idea. I really don't. I'd love to know. I think that'd be fascinating to know. We've asked him before, hey, do you live and die with these games like we do? And he said, not really. He's a very measured guy. The owner coming out and taking responsibility. Yeah, man. Like if Dick Monfort came out and took responsibility for the Rockies being in last, well, yeah, Dick, you didn't spend any money. Of course it's on you. You traded away a lot of pieces. Steve Cohen didn't do that. He didn't do that. He opened the checkbook to the tune of $400 million or something. I find it hard to put a lot of blame on him. Now, the owner, though, does rubber stamp what the GM does. And when the GM comes to you and says, let's give Max Scherzer $43 million, let's give Justin Verlander $40 million, that is the rubber stamp. So, yeah, I think ultimately you have to sign off on that deal, right?
Yes, but I would think that...
But you also don't want to hamstring your GM if he thinks it's the right move.
If you don't think it's the right move, it's not necessarily your job to kibosh what your GM wants to do.
Correct.
It's a sign that you hired the wrong GM.
Correct.
If your GM keeps coming to you with moves that
harebrained
you
ideas
don't want to do and you don't like, then maybe you've got the wrong GM.
It's just weird because accountability is such a weird thing. Like if our show fails, you know who I'm not going to blame? Adam and Michael in the our big boss. I'm not going to blame them. It's not their fault. They gave us the microphones. They gave us a platform. They didn't give us a massive marketing budget, but we'll find a way around that. I'm not going to blame them if
we continue to fail and fail and fail and not live up to expectations that were set, then it is kind of on them.
No, not if we continue to fail. If we do bad shows, it's on us.
They would take responsibility for the failure of the morning show because
they hired us.
We're their guys.
They hired us. Yeah. It's tough.
What about at our last station where we were building momentum and they stopped paying the bills and we didn't end up on the air anymore?
That's on them.
I think that's more on them. I think we can blame management.
Yeah, if the
issue.
If the Mets got locked out of their stadium because Steve Cohen didn't pay the rent, yes, it's on Steve Cohen. And hey, you guys don't get bats anymore because Steve's not paying the bills to Louisville Slugger and Victus and everywhere else. That's on him.
So I think ultimately every situation there's different people you can blame. Sometimes it is the owner's fault. Sometimes it's not the owner's fault. You still have to evaluate on a case-by-case basis how much you feel like an owner is to blame. Right now, in the case of the Mets, just hearing from Steve Cohen, my thinking is it's not really that much Steve Cohen's fault.
Right. I agree.
And I kind of feel the same way about the Padres and Peter Seidler right now. Now, if after this season, Peter Seidler goes, I know this season was a disaster, but I'm not going to make any changes.
We're going to stay the course.
We're going to stay the course. And then they come back the next year and the same thing happens and the Padres underperform and fall apart. At some point, then you do have to say the inaction of the owner is a problem and the responsibility then lies at their feet.
And that's the tough part. And I bring up Steinbrenner again because he was all action. he needed more inaction in
Yes, he
his.
did.
In it, you fired Ben on Monday and then hired him the next Wednesday. Rehired him. Like that's just that you're just being impetuous at that point. You're just is that the right word? Not impetuous. He's being God bless. I blanked. He's being reactive.
Reactionary,
Yeah, reactionary. And that you can't run a baseball team that way. You also can't sit back with your feet on the desk and go, I'm going to give this thing another 5, 6, 7 years. If you really say that you want to bring a championship to San Diego and this team finishes with 70 wins, I don't see how you can stay the course.
I think clearly, though, the Padres as a franchise have not been reactionary maybe enough over the last few years.
And listen, if you want to talk hitting coaches and managers and everything else, they've been very reactionary. Very.
Have they? I mean,
I think so.
You know, you don't feel like some guys got even more time than they probably should have in their positions
under AJ Preller's regime.
Yeah.
Oh, I think 2 of them probably should have been hired in the first place.
Well, okay.
So
that's more an issue than waiting too long.
And then, you know, I know a little bit of the backstory on one of them. Why he
Felt
was
like
hired.
Andy Green might have gotten a season too many.
Yeah.
One season too many to begin with.
But, you know, again, look at what ownership was committed to the team, had committed to the team at that point, right? So some of the blame falls on Green, sure, but some of the blame probably falls on the ownership group at the time as well. It's an interesting thing. Accountability is very interesting to me. It's easy to say it's on me. It's on me. I take the blame, right? I take the blame for this. But I don't look at what's happening in New York and I don't look at what's happening here and blame either of the owners. They're rubber stamping deals. Now those deals may have not worked out and they did rubber stamp them. And so I guess technically the buck does stop literally with them. The literal buck stops with them because they're the ones that have to stroke the checks for $43 million to an aging Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander and some of the other moves that they made. But we're also stroking it. Peter's stroking a check to Xander Bogaerts.
If you want to compare it, at least the Mets will get out from under those deals fairly quickly. The short term, you know, at most I think 2 or 3 years,
good
not
call.
11 years.
And he has said,
like some of the Padres deals.
Paulie, do we have more of his?
Yeah, we got 2 other clips.
All right, let's play those.
Talking about decisions will have to be made towards the trade deadline if things don't turn around.
You know, obviously we came in with higher hopes and, you know, making the last wild card or whatever, but that's where we are. And so the season's not over. I'm preparing my management team for all possibilities. You know, if we don't get better, you know, we have decisions to make at the trade deadline. And that's not my preferred end result. But, you know, I'm preparing all contingencies. And we'll see where it goes. It's on the players.
I think that's always a good strategy. Hope for the best, but plan for the worst. That will leave you in a good state, whatever direction your team goes over the next couple of weeks. It's exactly what Peter Seidler, I think, should be doing right now. Hope for the best, but you better be planning
Expect
for the
the
worst.
worst.
I mean, it's easier
before
to be
before the
maybe
trade
not
deadline.
expect, but plan.
It's easier to be a buyer than a seller, right?
Well, it's easier emotionally. I think the marketplace, being a buyer right now, is going to be incredibly difficult. I mean, you are going to be picking through
There's not a lot
of good stuff that's going to be way overpriced. So in that sense, being a seller could actually be kind of pleasurable if you're going out there and going, yeah, I'm dangling this guy. I got 9 teams who are interested that I can now play off against, you know, up and up and up the offer.
There's the aspect of admitting that this season,
but that's hard to do. That is really hard to do. It's tough for your, as Woodsy pointed out,
Thinking, am I
it's tough
getting
for your
enough
players,
for this player?
It's tough for your coaches. You know, they all expected a winning season, and when you are essentially saying, we don't believe in you anymore, tough pill to swallow, bitter pill to swallow.
I mean, he
but,
just said, though, it's on the players.
but one that any effective general manager and ownership group front office will have to make from time to time.
Yep.
If you just go for it every year at the trade deadline, you're never going to have sustained success. You have to acknowledge reality every once in a while that your team is not going to be there, and this is your opportunity to get better for the future by making some moves now.
Yeah, I agree. What's the last clip, Paulie?
It's just his vote of confidence for Billy Epler and Buck.
Probably hear this
Showalter.
about AJ Preller and Bob Melvin in the coming
Short-
days.
Short and to the point.
You mentioned not wanting to act impulsively. Sorry, right here. Not wanting to act impulsively or fire somebody for the sake of firing somebody. Can you say definitively that Billy and Buck will remain in their jobs through the season?
Absolutely.
Okay. Asked and answered.
Vote of confidence right there.
Yeah.
Now, would it be the first time ever that an owner has said
it's too much,
no one's going to be fired? Or certainly we've heard GMs give their manager a vote of confidence, and within days they're fired because you can't really say anything else.
What did Peters say like last year or 2 years ago? Like 1,000,000% job security or something like that.
Something
along those lines for AJ.
But circumstances change. And I guarantee you, Peter Seidler didn't get to where he is in life without evaluating constantly what the current climate, everything that's going on, and then reacting accordingly. And maybe, last year he felt like 1,000,000% confidence in his leadership team. Can't imagine he feels that way today. I really can't.
I can't either.
I'd be surprised if there wasn't, at least privately, some doubt creeping into the mind of Peter Seidler right now. Now, will he admit that? Is it smart to even admit that? I don't know. But he's a reasonable human being from everything that I've seen, and a reasonable human being right now would be questioning everything about their franchise, about everything they thought they knew about their team at this moment. Would love to get under the hood and figure out what's going on in that brain.
I mean, almost more than anything. Like, what do you want to charge me to be a fly on the wall in those meetings? What does that sound like? What has Peter raised his voice this year? Has
Peter ever raised
his
voice?
Ever raised his voice? I mean, has he? You always put yourself in those shoes. My hair would be falling out. I couldn't. I don't know what I would do. I really don't know what I would do. Even you, Ben, who's much more level-headed than me. This would be eating your soul. Spending that.
I know how much it eats at us anyway, and we're not responsible for it at all.
I spend money to go to games and buy merch and stuff, but I would do that anyway. So if I had to stake my own money in something that was just tanking as bad as it is, how would I sit with that on a daily basis with no end in sight?
All right, we got Eno Saris coming up. He's got a smart take on everything. I'm sure we can talk a little Mets and Padres with Eno in our next segment. And then we're like 30 minutes away from a pregame show this morning from Pittsburgh. So stay tuned. Hair on Fire edition of Ben and Woods continues on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
All right, we're almost out of here. Actually, we're gonna have Sammy Levitt do the pregame here at 8:35. Well, Padres and pancakes for you. Man, it's been a rough one. Paulie's trying to get Eno on the line right now, but yeah, we got 35 minutes roughly left of this program, and we'll be out of here for the day. And Padres baseball.
We were just talking about the New York Mets coming up to the trade deadline, what Steve Cohen had to say, waiting to hear from Peter Seidler at some point here, and what the Padres are going to do in the month of July before the trade deadline. I think clearly, I mean, unless they go on a run here, they'd be foolish not to sell off some pieces. I saw it suggested yesterday as well that, you know, if you sell off enough pieces, maybe you can reset your luxury tax number. The Padres have gone over for a second straight year and are facing escalating penalties. In fact, right now, the Padres Woods luxury tax payroll is at $277 million. Now, that's bigger than the actual payroll because it's the average. Like Fernando Tatis Jr. is counted for 30-something million, even though he's only paid, I think, around $10 million this year. So it's a higher number than the Padres' actual payroll. But that's going to lead to about a $26 million luxury tax bill for Peter Seidler. Now, you want to talk galling.
It's a tough one to swallow.
It's one thing to overpay a player for not performing, but to pay a luxury tax on a team that is 7 games or 6 games under 500 and say, I am paying an extra $26 million for this slop. Steve Cohen's going to be paying over $100 extra million for a team that is currently 8 games under 500. Can't wait to get Eno's perspective. Let's get to it. It's time for some smart baseball. Had to poke Eno a little earlier this morning with such an early start for Padres baseball. Eno, appreciate you moving up your schedule for us today.
Yeah, I'm getting up. I'm awake. I'm awake.
Sort of.
8 o'clock. It's child's play right here, man. Well, you're a writer. Writers are weird. They stay up late.
It's summer.
It's summer. Yeah, no doubt. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Doing good. I don't have any answers for you.
All right,
thank you.
Good. I appreciate it.
Let's talk.
That was Eno Saris.
That's Eno Saris on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad.
Let's talk
hotline.
trade deadline philosophy, since that was something we were just discussing, especially this year. You know, the trade deadline's still more than a month away, but clearly teams like the Mets and the Padres going to have to face some tough decisions. I mean, when you're all in and your only goal is to win, it's very hard to pull the ripcord and say, all right, we need to trade away some of these pieces before they become free agents. I mean, where in your minds, like a realistic spot that the Padres and Mets would have to be to justify, you know, buying pieces at the deadline or even not selling pieces at the trading deadline?
I think 500 is a interesting spot because at 500 you've got you're headed for 81 wins, and you've still got this mythical 10-game win streak that, you know, hasn't appeared yet. But
it's like the Loch Ness monster here. I don't
like
know
Nessie.
that I don't know that it really exists.
You know, let's start with 4 games. All right, 4 would be the longest winning streak of the season.
But if you really?
Yes, really.
Oh, man.
I know.
3 is currently the high water
3
mark.
is where we've peaked.
Okay, well, there's still a lot of quality players. So like there's still like, and there's other teams that have rattled off 10 in a row that you're kind of like, well, aren't we better than them? You know? So like, let's say that 10 is still possible and you're headed towards 81 and you get the 10 at the right time and you end up at 88, and that's wild card territory. So I think if you're at 500, obviously I don't think it's a great move to do something all in where you put a bunch of prospects on the table and buy the most expensive player available at the deadline. But, you know, could you go get someone that doesn't cost as much, like maybe a Lane Thomas or something?
God, he's a good player, man.
Like maybe that is more attainable than you know, something at the top of the market. So I feel like a small buy could make sense. Otherwise, if you're not doing it, I mean, there's always like this tension between like, oh well, if you sell something that is not a free agent next year, then you get more back. So, I mean, the obvious player on this team that would get the most back is probably like a Juan Soto. But if you do that, what are you saying about next year? And then you might as well just trade, a bunch of guys and get a lot of return, and start the dirty R word, the rebuild.
Yep.
So I can't think that that's necessarily going to happen in either San Diego or New York. So really the choice is some small buys, a reliever, a third, fourth outfielder, something small to help, or just selling guys who are free agents next year, free agents at the end of the season. And those won't get you necessarily as much in return because teams all want, team control.
Sure.
But especially like for the Mets and Padres, what you could do if you sign guys who are going to be free agents next year, if you trade guys away that are going to be free agents next year, one of the things you can get in those kinds of trades is a reliever. And because there are some teams who think there is no such thing as a relief prospect, right? And especially if you're the Nationals and you have a guy who's in your minor leagues who looks like he's a reliever. How much do you value that? Because you're not going to be good in the next 3 or 4 years, maybe, so maybe you would trade away something like that. And so that would be important for like a team like the Mets and Padres next year to have like, an extra guy in the minors who's optional, who's a reliever. So that's what I would target in trades. If I was trading away guys who are going to be free agents next year, I would be looking for relievers actually.
Conversely, talking to Eno Saris here from The Athletic on Ben and Woods. Conversely, the other thing that cannot happen at the deadline for the Padres, and I don't know much about the Mets situation, but I have to imagine that when you're up against the wall and you built a team and the team is floundering, what you can't do then is panic and go out and trade, what very little pieces you have for the future in your minor league system, to try to save your season, try to save your rear end. It's going to be really telling the next 5 weeks or so until the deadline what this Padres team can do. Now, again, that mythical 10-game run that it just, if you watch the team every night, you just don't see it. You can't see that that's even possible, honestly. Like, and I know the Reds have done it, and I know, the A's ripped off a bunch of wins in a row. I have more confidence in them doing it again than I do in the Padres doing it once. So you can't have your GM out there making moves to kind of save his rear end and save the season.
Yeah. I mean, there are a couple players in that minor league system for the Padres that you'd hope that they'd hold on to, but they haven't really in the past.
Right.
And what you've got is a whole team that's not at all homegrown. I did once do some research that said, what is a good enough young core? Like, what is a good enough young controllable core to compete? And I think my number was actually surprisingly small. It was like 3 or 4 good young players that are not so expensive yet. Do the Padres have 3 or 4 non-expensive young players?
No.
I can't, there's not off the top of my head.
They have Tatis.
Well, he's now expensive. So.
He's expensive. Yeah.
But now he's become expensive.
He's about to become really expensive. Good point.
Yeah.
And from a luxury tax standpoint, he's already expensive.
Ha-Seong Kim's a good player who's not too expensive. He's not all that young. And he's like the one name I've come up with so far.
Yeah.
And Jake Cronenworth was cheap. Now he's not cheap anymore. His contract kicks in next year. Adds to that expensive roster that you've put together. Oof. And you still have some major holes behind the plate. You're not getting any production out of first base. We have really seen depth become a major challenge for the Padres. And, let me ask you, because I had thought at the beginning of the season, it really wasn't that big of a deal. Yeah, a lack of depth will probably cost the Padres here or there. You can't start your stars every single day. You're going to have to go to your bench sometimes, but who cares when you have such great talent? Yet on a daily basis, we seem to be reminded that the Padres' depth is just not enough. What's your take on how much depth do you really need? Because we talked about in the playoffs, you don't need much at all because of the off days that are built in. You just need stars, and they need to get hot. But to get there, you do need some, apparently.
Yeah, and I think this is what's common to both the Mets and Padres experience is that, you know, you can have so the Dodgers model when they took over the Dodgers model was to spend big, and so they had big, you know, contracts and big, you know, big salary outlays, and they spent big. But the real idea was that they were going to spend also a lot of money and a lot of time and energy on player development. And so what you've seen over time with the Dodgers is, yes, they have the big stars that they spend a lot of money on, but then when they turn to the depth piece, when they're like, oh man, Gavin Lux got hurt. Well, Gavin Lux himself was, you know, pride of the player development. Well, Gavin Lux got hurt. Oh, that sucks. Well, Miguel Vargas is pretty good. You know, and so they've been able to kind of turn to guys that are decent, and you know, now they're turning out some, you know, Bobby Miller's like a fire-breathing giant. He's a 100-mile-an-hour guy with 5 pitches. You know, so they've improved underneath, and now that is coming up to meet their spending on the major league roster. So. That I think even Steve Cohen has even mentioned the Dodgers as like a way to fashion what he's going to do in New York. The problem is that everybody right now wants to have good player development. So you're fighting everybody for the best coaches, the best minds, the best player development people. You're fighting all of them, and it takes time because you have to kind of cull the coaches that aren't, you know, the way you want them to be, and you have to kind of, there's, you know, the whole coaching, like a whole minor league system, there's like 30, 40, 50 coaches, and there's all sorts of personnel. You might have 100 people in your minor league system that are just different personnel that affect your player development. How many of those are good, and how long does it take you to figure out how many of those are good, and how long does it take you to hire good ones? You know what I mean?
No doubt.
So it takes a while. You know, we had this whole the sort of Padres collapse of a couple of years ago, and you know, some of what we came up with in our piece when we wrote about it was that, you know, player development was a problem. So let's say that they took some of that to heart and they wanted to really improve. There were some personnel changes a couple of years ago after that one, right? It's still going to take a few years, and so, you know, Cohen takes over the Mets. It's still going to take a while. So he has to he's trying to spend all this at top. And underneath, he is trying to improve the system underneath. I know he is. I think Preller is. And so it just takes time. And so that's where right now you're looking, you're like, oh man, another like sort of Rice and Air, you know, Weathers start. Crap.
By the way, just spending on coaches, just like just spending on players, doesn't guarantee you success either. You can think you're investing the money the correct way, but ultimately you don't know. There's always that element, you know, of, you know, we think we're doing the right thing, but it's baseball, and you may be proven in the long run that maybe we weren't doing the right thing to begin with.
Oh, I mean, that I think is the most difficult thing. There's two things that I think of when I hear that. It's like, you know, when you're developing players, you have to give them the best of the knowledge that you have. But, you know, the first wave of nerds came through and said, oh, those people were idiots. The old school is the idiots. We know everything. You know, we're the new nerds. We know everything, right? Well, the dumbest thing is, 5 years later, even the nerds had to say, well, that was 5 years ago. We know a lot more now. So, like,
you know what I've learned, Eno, is that everybody in baseball, ourselves included, everyone, our favorite thing to do is just rip the goalpost out and just move it. Just move it and move it when it's convenient for all, like your narratives, my narratives, Ben's narratives. Just rip it out, move it.
Well, I mean,
you know, it's just the way it works.
Way of thinking about it is growth. You know, if you have the growth mindset, you say it's okay that we didn't know everything last year.
Correct.
We know more now. But you also have to broadcast to the players, this is the best of what we know now. You know, like, you still should listen to us because we do know some stuff. Even if we know more than we did last year, we'll know more next year. This is the best of what we got. So, you know, that's a changing thing that changes every year. So like if you think of the Pirates, at one point the Pirates were everyone thought they had it figured out. They wrote Big Data Baseball about the Pirates. Travis Sawchik, great book, and they were the guys who they were the guys who did more shifting than anyone, and they had Ray Searage, and they had figured pitching out. And it was like 2 years later, and everyone's laughing at them.
It's amazing.
You know,
it's amazing.
And their GM is being fired. So you really have to keep pushing, and that's what makes player development so hard. And then, the other thing that makes player development hard is it's hard enough to know how good a player is right now. We spend a lot of time being, how good is this player? Like appraising that player, using all these different stats. That's part of my job. It's hard enough to know what a player is now. And then in player development, you have to know how good is a player now. And then you have to know, oh, he's better now that we've done this player development juice on him, right? Oh, he's better now. So now that's two things that have noise in it, what he was before and what he is now. And then you also have to know what of the things, the player development juice, what of those things worked? What was it that worked that made him better? So, that's why I'm a big proponent of data. Like if you bring in data at every stop, you can say, oh, it was actually the yoga that worked this time, or it was this that worked, or
it was the Giants poetry reader that they had on staff, or the sommelier that worked for them.
Ultimately, we're trying to make sense of a sport where a guy can give up 10 runs one outing and throw a perfect game the next outing.
Right.
It's baseball, and sometimes it just doesn't make sense.
Patrick Corbin had 9 strikeouts and 0 earned yesterday.
Yeah. Wow. You just don't know sometimes. Eno, we got to run because we got a game coming up in a few minutes.
That's right.
We appreciate it, though. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll chat with you next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
That was Eno Sarris, sponsored by 7 Mile Casino, featuring all of your favorite table games like California-style blackjack, poker, and baccarat. Just 7 minutes from the ballpark.
Eno and all our guests appear on the Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad fan hotline. Save money the right way with Premier Chevrolet of Carlsbad. Visit them today in the Carlsbad Auto Mall. Chevrolet, find new roads. And as we head to our last time out before the pregame show, we got some tickets to give away. Looking for something fun to do on the 4th of July? God, that was always the biggest game of the season when I was growing up. 4th of July, fireworks. I love that game. I think it's a 3:40 start next Tuesday. We got tickets. Padres, Angels, Shohei Ohtani, Mike Trout coming to town. Be the 5th caller right now at 833-288-0973. 5th caller wins a pair of tickets for Padres Angels. You can get your own pair at Padres.com. See the Padres celebrate baseball's independence next Tuesday when the team is back at home. And we're going to come back and get you ready for Sammy Levitt's pregame show as we have baseball right around the corner on this Thursday morning, back after traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Trying to think of a way to make a $10 bet out of this, and I just can't quite come up with it. Yeah. I want to predict the person in the Padres clubhouse who today says they need to play with more urgency.
Ooh.
And, need to, take, step up their game a little bit.
I'll take the field then.
Because I feel like every single day it's a different guy. I mean, we heard it from Manny yesterday, but you go day by day. They have an entire clubhouse full of players who are absolutely committed to the idea that they need to play with urgency and step things up.
Yes.
And yet go out of the field and never do it. And have you ever seen a more disconnect between what a team is saying they need to do
and what they're doing
and what they actually do out there?
Yeah.
It does make it harder to assign blame and responsibility. We're almost done here. This show is heading right into the Padres pregame show. It's coming up in just a minute or two with Sam Levitt. I feel Sammy deserves a win today. You know what? You and I, Paul, we would love to talk about a win tomorrow. Sam's the one who has to deal with it directly, though, before and after the game with the post-game callers. If anyone deserved a nice win going in, so he can enjoy his afternoon and evening and that is just not be miserable.
Yeah.
I would like the Padres to win one for Sam Levitt today and give him a chance to have a nice, happy, relaxed post-game show.
When the chips are down and the breaks are beating the boys, win one for Sammy.
Win one for Sammy.
Win one for Sammy.
Because the champagne usually flows where Sammy goes, and I don't feel like we're popping any corks right now.
It's a screw top, and it's Strawberry Hill Boone's Farm is what we're all. You ever drink Boone's Farm, by the way?
No, I have not. I've not consumed Boone's Farm. Come in a box or?
No, it's a screw top.
It's a
Paul,
screw
you ever
top.
have Boone's Farm?
I don't believe so.
Oh, you guys are missing out.
Is it a fortified wine?
On the worst hangover
sweet wine
you've
kind
ever
of?
had. Very sweet.
Yeah. I don't really like the overly sweet.
It's like $2 a bottle.
Alcohol. Well, that's a good price.
Yes, very good
price
price.
point.
Hey, have a great day, everybody.
All right, that's it for us. Sammy's next for the pregame show. For Jack, for Paul, for Woodsy, I'm Ben. We are out today on the Fan.